Indeed, indeed. Woo! Here we go, friends. Let's talk about. Are we gonna get this Christmas rally? What do you guys think here? I think we're all looking at the same thing here. Obviously, poor Tom Lee, sounds like he's got a cold here, but he's still saying, hey, I think we're going to get it. It looks like we are. And you know what? The overall market's holding up pretty good. I mean, stocks have kind of hit a brick wall here, obviously, because it's weird because the S&P is moving up like crazy. I mean, we're more than halfway there, essentially getting the 7,000 point range in the market. I mean, so Tom Lee, technically, I mean, he's right. He's right. Now, what we're wanting here is for everything to move, but, overall stocks have kind of stalled out here, but there's still, this Christmas rally. When we say rally, it means everything gets moving. It means everything's getting pushed here. And right now, what's kind of disrupting this movement is obviously, with this report that came out here, and now it's making, it went from, hey, we might get a rate cut in January, February to, well, we're definitely not getting a rate cut in January, February. Obviously, we've been here multiple times that we're not, then we are. But I never really have banked on we're getting another rate cut here in January, February. I don't think we're going to see another rate cut here for a minute. I just don't see it happening. So with that, I'm so bullish that we're going to see some movement here. And let's talk about BigBear. Let's talk about Richtech in where we could see some pushing, some rallying happen here with these stocks and where to make money with them. So first things first here, I wanted to put these stocks up here. These are kind of stocks that I am watching this year because I want to see what's going to happen. And I think all these stocks are fantastic. I think if you're not investing in these are something that you should put on your watch list because they are stocks that could get a little crazy here in 2026. And obviously Reddit and Snowflake, they've already had a huge run here, but still there's stuff that could happen here to really drive these stocks up even more and definitely make them more solid into this $200 range. With Reddit and Snowflake here, these are obviously top competitors this year with going into the S&P 500. Now, I'm hopeful that SoFi gets there before them, but Reddit and Snowflake here are definitely top contenders right alongside SoFi here. So, there's high possibilities. One of these three could definitely be in the S&P 500, or if, all of them, maybe they all get picked this year, 1, 2, 3 out with quarterlies here, but we'll see. Bitmine, obviously, I'm very interested to see what's going to happen there. The thing with Bitmine too is, where's the crypto market? The crypto market, the normal road of the crypto market has been really kind of disrupted here this year with the Trump administration. This is going to happen, that's going to happen, and a lot has happened. But two, I think we're kind of seeing a new carving out of where crypto's going here. I mean, even Tom Lee had predictions for the Bitcoin going to $150,000 here this time, but we just haven't got there. So I think a lot of people are looking at Bitcoin, crypto in general, and kind of wondering what is going on over there. When is this going to stop selling off? So either way, though, I mean, Bitmine, Tom Lee attached to it, the chairman. I think if that's something you're sitting in and willing to make a relationship with that stock for a long time, it will definitely do well into the future. D-Wave, I'm very curious to see if D-Wave is going to go back up into a $30, $40, $50 range here. I think quantum computing is going to do very well here on out, if you want to say. I don't think it's going to do okay next year and the year after that. I think it's going to be a very hot topic going into the next 5 years from what we could see. In Applied Digital, data centers, Applied Digital, I mean, what is there not to say about that? That stock is headed straight for bigger numbers, 100%. So friends, let's get into it. Let's talk about Richtech first, and kind of dive into what's going on over there. Talking about Richtech, I am, this is kind of where I'm at with Richtech. I believe, first and foremost, that Richtech could have an enormous run here in 2026. And why I say that is because it's already attached to the Trump administration, whether people know it or not. And why it is because of its relationship with NVIDIA. And NVIDIA is heavily attached to the Trump administration, 100%. NVIDIA in Richtech here work together. Obviously, Richtech uses NVIDIA chips. Jensen has openly talked about Richtech and his excitement for the company, robotics in general. And two, the Trump administration released, a statement here not long ago saying we are highly probably going to do a Expedia push on robotics here. Companies in the United States here. So this is something we will probably hear about more this coming year. Now, when that takes place, I don't know. With this new defense bill that just got pushed, I would highly imagine there's portions of that money that will go into robotics. Now, Richtech, not that I know that they're going to get some kind of, push, support, partnership from the United States government, whatever that would look like. But I think they would have a pretty good chance at this point, having relationship already there. So with that, I think there's that right there. That's a pretty big thing right there. But two, robotics in general, I think are going to be a very hot topic at some point in 2026. I don't look at Richtech as a situation where right now, as the company sits, they're going to start making billions and billions of dollars. It's quite the opposite. They're not making a lot of money at all. We're at this point, we're just hoping they get right over quarterly is right where they need to be. It's still a very, in the genesis stages of where they are as a company, but they are, they're getting somewhere and they have a plan, they have a destination where they're trying to go. But saying that, I definitely think there's going to be robotic stocks here that get a lot of attention. There's going to be feeding frenzies on them when they start to get a lot of attention, when the stock market starts to really catch wind of robotic stocks. And Richtech here already in this humanoid robot field of service robots, they're going to be a hot ticket here. In January, going into the new year here, the market could kind of be running pretty well already. This would be part of the Christmas rally run. We'd be getting like the last little fumes at that point around January 13th. But Richtech here would undoubtedly be pushing just off quarterlies here. So if you're looking for a swing trade, there could be something coming up here with Richtech that could really do well here. My target price right now on Richtech, just a minimum of what it could get to, is up in this $6 range here. I definitely think this is possible. Now, saying that, Richtech 100%, this is going to be a very interesting year to see what the company can do. But right now, my biggest hope in excitement with this stock right now is with the Trump administration when they start to see and name robotic companies that they are pushing here. Now, two, with that, really look at this other road that's going to start being seen here. When Tesla starts to release Optimus this coming year, what does that look like in society? What does that look like? Does Optimus really get the robotic market up and rolling here in the stock market? I think that's a very real thing. It's kind of like, if you were there during the EV craze, if you remember this, you're going to follow along here with this. So before the EV craze really happened, and this is right when Trump's first term really started back in 2016-17, when EV companies were really getting popular. Now, with that, Tesla was already around. Tesla was already doing well. Tesla was, controlling the whole EV market. I mean, it just undoubtedly. But there was just this huge push in EVs. And Trump came into office, gave a bunch of grants, all this stuff, push for EV cars, all this kind of stuff. And then the Biden administration obviously, really pushed into that too. We saw so many new and already there EV companies blow up with stock share price. Companies that weren't even profitable. I mean, from Lucid to, so many that were just doing unbelievable numbers. And it may have just been for a season, a moment where they were hitting crazy numbers. But still, this is kind of what I think the robotic market's going to look like. Now, will Tesla win that one too as well? Tesla came to market with the EV, brought the EV market to the market here and made it what it was. And at that time, I remember people are like, electric cars, this is ridiculous. This will never work. Now it's kind of, history is repeating itself here. Tesla, Elon is coming to market with robotics, robots, humanoid robots. And, I think there's a lot of people that are going to say the same thing. This is never going to work, but it's going to be one of those things where it does work. He makes a market for it. And then you're going to see other robotic companies start to do well. But also, there's going to be huge competition. Now, at the end of the day, does Tesla win the whole robotics market again? Who knows? Probably, because they already have so much money and they're already so far ahead of the game. But the thing that I like about Richtech here is that Richtech already has partnerships. Richtech is already working on these service robots. This is a huge thing that for some investors, you really got to open up your mind where we're looking at here in future trading. What does the future stock market look like? I don't mean next year. I don't mean 2030. I'm talking like, 10 years from now. Where are these $1 trillion market caps with new companies? More than likely, there's going to be some robotic stocks in there. Tesla, God knows where it will be at that point. But there will be other ones. In Richtech, if this actually works, if we start to see partnerships, contracts be written up here where, Richtech can get their software, get their robots to where they can go into public food industries and start becoming service robots, at McDonald's, Chick-fil-A. And, these robots may not be that big of a deal at first. They may just be at a cash register, pressing buttons. They may be at a drink machine, just doing stuff like that. You got to think about this in a very simplistic of terms here, where the robot's just, it's just automated system. Just that's what it does. It just, it's AI and it's the robot, just the brain and the robot physically doing the job here. So those are things that are going to be here, whether people think that is just out of this world, never going to happen or what. But I'm telling you, it's coming. If you don't think it is, I'm sorry to tell you, but it is. Richtech can definitely be one of the first big companies that is a part of that. Now, obviously, this is a fairy tale story that we're wanting, but I definitely think that this is something that could and will potentially take place here in the near future. Getting to that point, I do think, like I said, Richtech will have high moments. And when and if the Trump administration starts to announce relationship with robotic companies and Richtech is named this year, could you imagine what that is going to do to Richtech stock? Could you imagine? And the thing is, like, people go like, well, they're not making money. They don't have to make money. There could be such a phenomenal run on Richtech just off what if, just off who knows, just off I don't want to miss out. We've seen this plenty times in the stock market. And this is why I talked about the EV craze when it happened, because it's true that there were so many EV companies that came to market. It seemed like every billionaire got together with $10-20 billion and made a EV company, brought it to market, and some of them are still around and some of them are just dust in the wind at this point, lost investments that didn't work because the competition was so wild. But I kind of think this is how the robotic industry is going to hit all at once here too. So, I'm pretty bullish that Richtech, before we even see profit, there's going to be huge runs on the stock. That's kind of where I'm at with it because of relationships we can already see with this company of who it's working with, who it's in with. So that's kind of where I'm at with Richtech, friends. And that may just be a fart in the wind for some people. I totally get that. But, the biggest times I've done well in the market is with times that just seemed ridiculous, just there's so much money in hype. There's so much money in people don't want to miss out. There's so much money in those kind of things. And that's kind of where I look at Richtech right now, that it could just get a hype train on it 100%. Okay, Big Bear. So I'm still using my chart here. Now, BigBear sold off today as of everything. Like I said, the whole market really, Richtech was the only thing that did well today. With that, we're seeing this situation take place in the market where the ETFs were going ballistic today. They were just running. I think if you had a dividend portfolio, It was going wild today, but individual stocks, they just were not giving much today. We were just not seeing much in that corner. I do think there is a stock Christmas rally that could happen here. And when it does, I definitely will bring everything with it. And this is where BigBear, what can I say that I haven't said about BigBear? I definitely think that BigBear can obviously push back up into this $7 range here. And I think for a lot of us, for a swing trade, that would be phenomenal if you've been buying heavy on these dips. Now, I am fully of, as much as I love BigBear, I definitely think to see $10, $15 out of BigBear, two things have to happen. They have to start executing big quarterlies on a consecutive basis, and two, they have to either that or they need to show proof first of huge deals coming up here, really big deals. That's kind of, if you think back, I don't know if you were there, but around November of last year, this is when BigBear really started to get attention. And this is where I became public with it and started to talk about it and go like, hey, look at this AI company. And BigBear was in a lot, they were in terrible shape then. I mean, they were in terrible shape. It was terrible shape. It was not the company. A year later, it was, two different companies here. So when BigBear got that first big AI defense deal here, I think it was like in November, October of 2024, okay? And that deal kind of got chopped up a little bit after that, we found out. But with that, BigBear was $1.80, $2 and some change stock at that point. Okay, it went from that to $3 to $4, $5, and then I think it went $6. Now that's a huge jump. Then they got another deal. And within just a few short months, if that, we went from, $2 to 10 and some change. That's a huge run. Now, with that too, BigBear followed along with the year of getting more deals. Then we had that court situation where, just it was nonstop about, BigBear had lied apparently about some, revenue in the past. And two, that was the old BigBear. That was the old company. But like I said, with that, we've seen so much change here with BigBear, from the leadership to aggressively going after deals. So why I say that is because that first big deal that came to present itself to BigBear at that time, it really got things changed. It really got some hype here. So, if BigBear can find itself in a position here in the beginning of 2026 with a beautiful defense deal, really, pushing the limits here, maybe they can come out with a even $200, $300, $400, $500 million deal, spread out over X amount of time, years. They would change everything. I mean, it would just be, it would bring so much comfort and, revival to the stock 100% for investors. So it's really something to think about. I don't think it's so much if, it's just when. And of course, I can sound naive to this because, Kevin putting out this word to investors with Q3 talking about border security deals, defense deals in general, and more that's coming to BigBear here and how they're really wanting to push, 2026. I do believe that because the proof is in the pudding from what we've seen here this year. There's plenty of companies that talk a big game, but when it comes down to it, some of them, they just never get the ball rolling. BigBear has actually been doing a lot this year. They've been a very, very busy bee this year with getting deals here and reshaping the company. So I think that should get a lot of people excited here. It really should. So, friends, tomorrow's Christmas. It's Christmas Eve tonight. If you got kiddos, we've got a long night ahead of us. I'm going to go ahead and tell you. So for the fathers, mothers out there, stock market's closed tomorrow, but we're going to be busy, so, it doesn't really matter. It is 7 o'clock at night, and I am on coffee. That should tell you what I've got going on tonight. It's going to be a busy night. So for all the people out there wrapping presents tonight for Santa, I wish you all the energy in the world. Friends, I really do appreciate you being here. It's been an amazing year in the stock market. I'll be back yapping my lips tomorrow, but be excited. We are going into some beautiful, beautiful pastures into 2026. I really do believe that. There's going to be some mud holes here and there, but all in all, I think we're looking at some beautiful, beautiful fields that we're going to be walking through with luscious green grass, and I'm very excited about that. I'm really excited. So friends, take care of yourself, and best of luck with what's going on tonight in Santa. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.